The NAIA football season for 2023 is in the books. Now, we talked about week 3. We previewed it on Thursday, and we looked at some of the trends that were in place for some of these series, and we told you which trends to go with and which trends to maybe leave behind just a little bit. Let me just tell you this. If you went with the trends on everything, you would have been right. Some games that we thought might buck the trend a little bit didn't really do that. Let's talk about that. Hey, it's top 5 performance time here on Midwest Sports Ed. I'm Joey McWilliams. Thanks for joining me tonight. We have a lot to talk about. We do have some great top 5 performances that we are ready to show you. And also, you know what? We are going to go beyond the 5 as well. So let me just go ahead and drop this little nugget on there from Jake, who is, is it going to show up there? There we go. Jake, who went to Salina to watch Friends take on Kansas Wesleyan. And the mighty Friends Falcons, well, according to Jake's assessment there, said that they didn't play quite as well in this contest. So, that's just the way it turned out. We'll talk about that just briefly. Let's go ahead and let's look beyond the 5 right now and talk about some games that went on this week. And there are some good performances. Let's talk about this. Roosevelt, in its final sweep through the NAIA, took on Madonna this weekend. And as you might imagine, if you're a Crusaders fan, I am sorry. It has been a rough road for Madonna football. 1 win in the entirety of the program. That came by way of forfeit. That was a little while back. Not a win this week. 42-7, Roosevelt won that game. Carson Budke, 16 for 23 passing, 233 yards. And 5 passing touchdowns, no picks. Concordia blanked Judson 54-0. Gavin Brooks 15 for 19 passing, 209 passing yards, 5 passing touchdowns, no picks. Seeger DeGainer caught 3 of those touchdowns, had 8 catches on the day for 66 yards. The trend that said that Grandview would continue winning was a trend you should have gone with. Grandview over Baker. As a matter of fact, the Vikings blanked the Wildcats 24-0. Shutout there. Held Baker to just 88 yards rushing. By the way, if you're a Wildcats fan, that was not the low number on the day for rushing yards. But gave up 20 points. Grandview has given up 20 points in 3 games. That sounded like Evangel. We'll get to Evangel just a little bit. By the way, Coach Joe Woodley's 50th win as a head coach. So congratulations to him. Thanks for watching, by the way, tonight. If you're watching this live, please let us know from where you are watching. I know Jake is watching from East Wichita and had a chance to watch Midwest Sports Saturday. Thanks for watching us, by the way, as we were in Edmond for the Missouri Western Central Oklahoma game on Saturday. Oldest son graduated from there 2 years ago. I've got a daughter that is considering going there in 2 years, Jake. So we'll see how that works out. Let's keep on talking beyond the 5. Marion, 45. Olivet Nazarene, 14. Zach Bundalo with a career passing day. 22 for 34, 395 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, had a pick on the day as well. And Marion had 2 interceptions returned for touchdowns, too. It was a big day for the Knights, as Tyler Bukur, if I said that right, Bukur, caught it in the end zone, able to step back in, make the catch that picked off there, got the score as Olivet Nazarene was pinned deep. Reese Walker, 20-yard interception return for the touchdown. Jennings with a 91-yard kickoff return for a touchdown. By the way, Olivet Nazarene had one of those as well, 85-yard kickoff return for a touchdown. And Dale, guess what? We are going to talk about the Mustangs here in just a little bit. Dale watching us from Sioux Falls. We'll get to the Mustangs here. Yeah, are we going to get to the Mustangs? We absolutely are going to get to the Mustangs. We'll wait just a little bit because I know you know what happened. So we'll talk about that in just a moment. But did you know the big stat on that one, Dale? And I don't know how many people have been talking about this one. Meanwhile, Missouri Valley put a stop to Graceland's winning streak, 49-42. The Vikings, who have played now more than 800 contests over the years, went ahead and kept the trend going. It is now 16 consecutive years that Missouri Valley has beaten Graceland in football. 16 straight contests. 49-42. Now, Cade Ross was there. 23 of 34 passing, 287 passing yards, 5 TDs, no picks. Gerald Monroe, of course, 10 catches, 156 yards, just 1 receiving touchdown this week. And for Missouri Valley, Jeremiah Bryant, 23 carries for 126 rushing yards, 4 rushing touchdowns. Khalil Dampier, 8 catches, 108 yards receiving, 2 receiving touchdowns on the day. So Missouri Valley with a 7-point win. The Vikings remain undefeated. Pikeville over Faulkner 24-21 on the day. Jatoviay Colbert 24 carries, 165 yards rushing, 1 rushing touchdown. And, Lee Kirkland passing, 23 passes for 23 or 34 passing, 224 yards passing, 2 touchdowns. It was Cumberland's over Reinhardt. There is Jatoviay Colbert. And for Reinhardt, he had 24 carries, those 165 yards rushing we talked about. Cumberland's continues to roll now. They remain undefeated. Darius James, 33 carries on the day. 33 carries on the day. We had a number of those games that had one running back carrying the load. 135 yards rushing, had a rushing touchdown. Damon Burns Mitchell, how about this on defense? 10 tackles, forced a fumble, had 2 interceptions, and both of those were inside 2 minutes. And that was important for Cumberland's because they scored 10 points in the fourth quarter to take a 20-17 lead and hold on. Gave up the safety in the closing seconds to make it a 20-19 game. But Cumberland's continues to roll. Dordt continues to roll as well. 38-7, the final over Concordia in that game. Dordt has scored 49, 49, and now 38. Colton Cruz on the day, 16 for 26 passing, 145 passing yards. Didn't throw a touchdown, didn't throw an interception. Oh, but wait, he did score because he used his legs to do it. 16 carries, 64 rushing yards, 3 rushing touchdowns for the Defenders quarterback. Ian McDonald had 10 tackles and 2 interceptions on the day. The defense held Concordia to just 6 yards rushing. Bulldogs fans, it still wasn't the low on the day. But Concordia takes the loss right there. Dordt, another win, now 3-0. Benedictine evened up its record at 2-2, 62-28 the final over Peru State. And the Bobcats are inching so close to that first win of the season. Just wasn't going to happen in Atchison. The Ravens weren't going to let that happen. Second 600-yard game of the season. The other one in a win over Clark. 601 on Saturday, had 620 in the win over Clark. Jackson Dooley, 19 for 34 passing, 347 passing yards, 4 touchdowns, no picks. Dalton Witherspoon on the day, 12 carries for 122 rushing yards, 2 rushing touchdowns. He also had a receiving touchdown as well, 3 catches for 85 yards. Hey, here's a familiar name if you like watching Friends Falcons football. We'll talk about Friends Falcons here in just a little bit. Noah, thanks for watching tonight. I have an idea you're probably watching somewhere around Wichita. You got to be close, right? Clark, we talked about Clark. Clark picked up the win. 27-24 over Central Methodist. And Clark's Craig Elmore had a career day. 26 carries, 192 rushing yards, 1 rushing touchdown. By the way, Noah, thanks for the kind words right there. Central Methodist, Joe Cambridge on the day, 21 of 37 passing, 343 yards passing, 2 passing touchdowns, no interceptions, but the Eagles didn't have quite enough to get the win in this one. Threshers get back in the winning column with 42-26 victory over Avila. Bethel scored 35 first-half points, a 35-6 lead at the half. DJ Sears just continues to roll. The Threshers quarterback was 8 of 9 passing for 141 passing yards, 2 passing touchdowns, no picks, but he also carried the ball 20 times, 124 yards rushing, and 2 rushing touchdowns as well. Big day for Sears. Northwestern, the number 1 team in the country, remains the number 1 team in the country. Dominated Doane. Jalen Gramstad, 20 of 28, passing for 297 yards, 3 passing touchdowns, no picks. Also, 5 carries for 42 yards. Had a rushing touchdown as well. Day at the office for Gramstad and a day at the office for the Northwestern Red Raiders. Staying in the GPAC. Let's do that. Let's talk Morningside. How about that, Dale? Morningside 47, Mount Marty 17. Morningside kept it close for a while. Mount Marty was staying with the Mustangs, and Morningside scored 20 points in the fourth quarter to blow this one open, and it was started by a huge defensive stop in the third quarter. Malik Hampton had 9 tackles on the day, 1.5 tackles for loss, a forced fumble, a fumble recovery as well. That was at the goal line, and it kept Mount Marty out of the end zone. That one would have made it a 3 or possibly 2-point game at that point late in the third quarter. Morningside turns it around, gets things going. Cash Parker seems to have taken over the starting role now for the Mustangs. 15 of 22 passing. He was the passing quarterback. Of course, Lennox Brown, the running quarterback there. 2 passing touchdowns, no picks, 500 yards of total offense. By the way, that's not just a rough number. That is actually the number. 500 even yards of total offense, 283 yards passing, 237 yards rushing. And again, Parker with 2 passing touchdowns found Zach Norton with both of those TD passes. Norton on the day, big day, double digits in receptions, 10 catches, 227 yards receiving. That's right, 227 yards receiving. Of course, those 2 receiving touchdowns. For Morningside, and here's the number I haven't really seen anyone else say, so I want to throw this one out there. By the way, yeah, Dale, and that, to me, that was the big point of the day, the fumble and the fumble recovery, because Mount Marty had an opportunity and they were shut down. Here's the number. The number is 70. 70. Morningside has won now 70 consecutive regular season games. I realize there are postseason games in there too. And by the way, Morningside's had some pretty good postseason runs, 3 national championships over a 4-year stretch. And I mean, if you want to add this past season, 3 over the last 5 years, but 3 in 4 years, not bad. But consider this. You have to go back to 2016, the last time Morningside lost a game during the regular season. And just going to keep on rolling. We'll see how that happens. GPAC play is a very, very tough league. Evangel, here's a team that's 4-0 right now. How about this? Evangel 59, St. Mary 42. Big day for St. Mary. Okay, I know St. Mary drops the L there, but still scored 3 times as many points against Evangel as the Valor had given up all season long combined. So if St. Mary really made it a game. For Evangel, it was Eric Williams, 25 carries, 205 yards rushing, 4 rushing touchdowns, had 2 receptions for 20 yards and 1 receiving touchdown as well. By the way, this tied, a school record. 4 rushing touchdowns tied the school record. 5 touchdowns overall is a new school record. So congratulations to Eric Williams for Evangel in doing that. We may stop by and see the Valor sometime soon on Midwest Sports Saturday. Just a little bit of a precursor there. RJ Wakely, 12 passes, 21 yards, passing 184 yards through the air, 3 passing touchdowns, 2 carries for 28 yards, and had a rushing touchdown as well. For St. Mary, Dalvon Donaldson, 7 catches, 133 yards through the air, had a receiving touchdown. And Eric Covington, 26 of 46 passing, 380 yards passing, 3 passing touchdowns, had an interception thrown as well. It's not quite enough against Evangel. So we've talked about the Valor defense all year, but the offense did well also. If you're Lindsey Wilson, you decided, how do we want to score in this game? Just pick away, and that's exactly what they did. Lindsey Wilson, 57.7, and the Blue Raiders scored passing touchdown, rushing touchdown, field goal, safety, interception return for a touchdown, punt return for a touchdown, you name it. And that's how Lindsey Wilson got on the board, came away with a 50-point victory. Dakota Wesleyan, 33. Midland, 32. Dakota Wesleyan puts an end to the undefeated season for the Warriors and does it by 1 point, rallying from a 26-13 halftime deficit. Austin Lee on the day, 22 of 32 passing for 229 yards, 4 passing touchdowns, no interceptions thrown on the day. Keel Nelson, 10 catches, 118 yards receiving, 3 receiving touchdowns. Dakota Wesleyan goes to 3-1 as well. Montana Western with a win over a D3 school, 49-13 over Lewis and Clark. Michael Palandri, who has taken the reins there for the Bulldogs, 19 of 28 for 280 yards passing, 2 passing touchdowns through an interception as well. DJ Curvin, 8 carries, 137 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns. Eli Norse, 8 receptions, 117 yards receiving, and a touchdown catch. Valley City State gets the win, 14-6 over Dakota State. And since, as you would imagine, this is a game that was dominated by defense, let's talk about someone on the defense. Riley Gerhardt with 3 sacks on the day, 11 tackles to lead the team, 3 sacks on the day, now has 6 on the season. That's good enough to be in the lead for the NAIA. Riley Gerhardt continues to find his way into opponents' backfields. Ave Maria with a win over a D3 opponent. First ever meeting between Ave Maria and Texas Lutheran as the Gyrenes make it all the way into Seguin for the contest. And Brian Steinke, 35 carries, a school record. 264 yards rushing, a school record. 2 rushing touchdowns, and hey, he had 5 catches for 66 yards as well. And you think about this too. So he has 35 carries, 5 receptions on the day. 40 plays went through Steinke. Ave Maria ran 74 offensive plays on the day. More than half of the offense literally went through Brian Steinke on the day. And I like his quote at the end. We did it all. We did it together, and it was all for him. Steinke said, this is a quote on the Ave Maria website, I can do all things through Christ. So I think that is a very cool statement. OUAZ 62, Texas College 14. Here is your low number for the day if you were keeping track at home, at least the low number as far as I could see. OUAZ, well, it could be OUAD at this point in time because we're talking about the D. The defense held the Steers to negative 29 yards rushing on the day. So if you were feeling bad about your team's rushing yardage for the day, as long as your team isn't Texas College, you still had somebody else that you could look to and say, no, it wasn't that bad. Kentucky Christian, 6. Cumberland, 50. I know I read that backwards, and I always tell my students that when you're writing scores, always list the winning score first. Well, I'm telling you that this was important. So Kentucky Christian had 6 points. Why is that important? It's the first 6 points of the year. Kentucky Christian is now 0-4 on the year, but Jamari Wilson, with 5 minutes and 39 seconds left in the fourth, ran one in from 2 yards out. Kentucky Christian on the board. Cumberland, by the way, with a win, 50-6. Culver Stockton with a 3-point win over Missouri Baptist, and the Spartans are yet to win a game in Hart Conference play. It's going to happen soon. Thought it might happen against Culver Stockton. And Missouri Baptist did its best. I mean, made a field goal as time expired to send it to overtime at 30 apiece. However, had the ball first and tried another field goal, had that one blocked. Culver Stockton comes back and makes its field goal, 33-30, the final in overtime, as the Wildcats get the victory there. Let's talk Friends football for just a moment, as Kansas Wesleyan hosted this one. The preseason favorite in the Bissell division gets the victory over the Falcons and stops the undefeated season for Friends this season, 35-28. So the last time these two teams met, it was a 70-point win for KWU. And this time it was a 7-point win for KWU, but it's the W. And that really is, that's all that matters there. Kansas Wesleyan had 3 players with double-digit tackles, led by Shaylin Lewis, who had 13. They put a stop to that Friends offense that had been rolling, held it to just 28. Luke Armstrong, by the way, and this probably is the difference in the game because you take this play out and it's still 28 all. Luke Armstrong with an 88-yard punt return for a touchdown for Kansas Wesleyan. So the Coyotes with that 7-point advantage in special teams turns out to be the difference in the game. Friends, Cavante Baker with 2 for 3 passing on the day for 68 yards. Why is that important? When all of your passes are touchdown passes, it's a good stat to look at. So 2 for 3 passing on the day, both for touchdowns, no interceptions. Baker also with 2 rushing touchdowns for the day, 22 carries for 135 rushing yards. So we're continuing beyond the 5. Again, thanks for watching here tonight on Midwest Sportsnet. I encourage you, please continue to let me know from where you happen to be watching tonight. We're almost to the top 5. We're almost there right now. A few more games to mention here really quickly as we go beyond the 5. Louisiana Christian remains undefeated. One of the teams that I've put a little bit higher in the poll this week on the NAIA F-ball poll. If you don't follow the guys over there, NAIA F-ball, that poll will come out tomorrow. I have them a little bit higher up this week. Pair of 100-yard backs, says Louisiana Christian 35, Langston 22. And so the Lions now 0-2 on the season. Tough start for Langston. Devin Briscoe for the Wildcats, 15 carries, 156 rushing yards, 1 touchdown. Davion Charles, 15 carries, 104 yards rushing, 1 touchdown as well. Louisiana Christian continues to roll in the Sooner Athletic Conference. They're going to come up against this team sometime soon. That's Texas Wesleyan, also rolling. 31-16 over Oklahoma Panhandle. Texas Wesleyan's Javari Sanders with a 97-yard blocked extra point attempt, returned back, and this was right before the half. With 3 seconds left in the half, Oklahoma Panhandle had scored to go up at that point what would have been 17-6 if the extra point goes through. Instead, the Rams take it all the way back, go into the half trailing just 16-8, and took that momentum into the second half. Texas Wesleyan scored 23 unanswered points on Oklahoma Panhandle in the second half. They win 31-16. Props to Javari Sanders returning the extra point attempt for 2 points the other direction, and they get the score. How about this one? Speaking of 2 points, Indiana Wesleyan last week stopped a 2-point conversion to win by 2. That 2-point would have won it. This time, the 2-point conversion at the end, or that 2-point would have tied it. This time, it would have won it. Absolutely won it. And Indiana Wesleyan holds on over St. Xavier 16-15. The two teams traded safeties in the second half. Dadarian Williams with 32 carries for 121 yards rushing, 1 rushing touchdown. But it was this 2-point stop to end, or at the end of the game, to win it for Indiana Wesleyan. Wildcats in the top 5, and they're doing it in dramatic fashion against some very tough opponents. By the way, the first meeting ever between those two programs. Mid-America Nazarene, 29. William Penn, 20. Adrian Parsons, 27 for 42 passing on the day, 265 yards passing, 2 passing touchdowns, no picks. And Arizona Christian, in its first ever Frontier Conference game, wins its first ever Frontier Conference game. That's at home against the Lights from Montana State Northern. Arizona Christian had to score 14 points in the fourth quarter to get it done. And the game-winning touchdown pass from Tyler Duncan came with 11 seconds left. It was a missed point after in the first quarter that proved to be the difference in this one. So Arizona Christian now, with its first ever win in the Frontier Conference, they do it at home. So guess what? Get to travel to Carroll next week. Have fun with that. Welcome to the Frontier Conference, I guess, with that. All right, so let's see here. Where are we? Let's go ahead and bring in our graphic as we go to the top 5 performances for week 3. Let's see if we can pull this up here. That's not, there we go. We'll just forget about that little button right there. Didn't show anything on your end anyway. There we go. How about that? Top 5 performances for this week. And if you look down through there, by the way, I'm looking at this. First thing I thought was there are 4 quarterbacks, which we haven't had 4 quarterbacks in a while. But 4 quarterbacks on there. Also, there's a theme through there with Jamonte, Jack, Joaquin, and Jatoviay. So you might be looking and say, well, Joey, you're just going with that J factor because your name starts with J and your wife's name starts with J, and all 5 of your kids' names start with J and your grandkids' names start with J. I'm not responsible for my grandkids' names, by the way. That wasn't my call. Jake, your name starts with J. You're on there too. So anyway, but yeah, that's what that is, and we will we'll go through those in just a moment. Get some commentary here really quickly on the Indiana Wesleyan win. As Fred says, yeah, the defense was dominant. Luke Blaze, who stopped last week's 2-point play, had the INT on the 2-point conversion attempt. So congratulations to Luke and the Wildcats as well. Taking care of business when you need to. And by the way, if it comes down to a 2-point conversion and the defense holds, props to the defense for hold. Thanks for the comment there, Fred. I appreciate that. And congratulations again to the Wildcats and to Luke for his effort. Let's talk about the top 5 now here, and we go to SAGU, the Southwestern Assemblies of God Lions, with a 40-18 victory over Arkansas Baptist. Jamonte Gordon West, in his collegiate debut, went 18 for 32, 280 yards passing, but that's not all. He threw 6 passing touchdowns on the day, had 1 interception, but threw 6 passing touchdowns on the day. I guess if it's your collegiate debut, we'll give you that 1 pick there, Jamonte. Paul Odidi, 96 yards receiving, 5 catches. 3 of his 5 catches were for touchdowns on the day. Congratulations to Jamonte Gordon West for setting a SAGU record in his college debut at quarterback. Moving on, Jack Parka, another quarterback. 21-20, Carroll defeated Rocky Mountain. And Rocky Mountain got up early in this one. And by the way, it's it's about the defense for Rocky Mountain in this one, because the Rocky Mountain gets up 20-0. The Battling Bears go up by that score with a field goal in the fourth quarter, 10:50 remaining. Battling Bears on top of the Saints. In the fourth quarter, Carroll had drives of 75, 55, and 50 yards for touchdown scores, including defensive stops along the way. And the bend don't break defense worked for so long. And you have to look at this and say, well, they didn't just shut them down, because the Saints put up more than 400 yards of offense on the day. As a matter of fact, 416 yards of offense. Of that, 9 yards rushing. So you have to give Rocky Mountain defense credit. They stopped the run very, very well. They held the Saints to just 9 yards rushing. But it's tough to keep Jack Perka from moving the ball through the air. And he did it to the tune of 407 yards passing. That is a program record. And on top of that, he had a touchdown-saving tackle. There was a turnover midway through, and instead of just letting it go on in, Perka chased him down and did not allow the score for the touchdown there, a touchdown-saving tackle. So Jack Perka, 28 for 45 passing, 407 passing yards, program record, and he has the TD-saving tackle as well. Baxter Tuggle, by the way, had a touchdown run, and it was Jack Perka to Carson Ochoa twice, 28 and 39 yards respectively, for those 3 touchdowns, and Carroll comes away with the big victory. All right, and we'll throw this up here as that didn't seem to come out as well. Rocky kept the number 10 team in the country with the goose egg until 10 minutes to go in the game. Coach started his 4-minute offense to lose the game. Okay, Rocky defense shut down their run game, and that is exactly the case. Just 9 rushing yards on the day. We did mention that. So the bend don't break worked for more than 3 quarters for Rocky Mountain and the Battling Bears. Just not quite enough in this one against Carroll. But our top 5 performance then goes to Jack Perka. Again, 407 yards passing. Moving on along. Bethel over Bluefield. And we did pick this one, by the way. It kept with the trend. So we did pick this one. 61-14. Bethel now 5-0 all-time in this series and has now won its 15th consecutive regular season game. Not quite to that 70 spot that Morningside has right now. It'll take a few more years to get there if they continue at this pace, though. Anyway, the Bethel defense held the Rams to just 6 yards rushing. That's been a theme, by the way. Joaquin Collazo III. And Joaquin, I really hope I pronounce that right. I try every time. 27 for 33 passing, 342 yards passing on the day, 4 passing touchdowns, no interceptions. He had 3 carries for 23 yards as well, and 1 rushing touchdown. Now, Bethel had some strong performances all the way around. J.D. Dixon, 8 catches for 149 yards receiving, 3 receiving touchdowns, and Demetrius Gilbert with 2 picks on the day and 73 return yards. By the way, he's now tied with Nehemiah Figueroa with 4 interceptions on the year to lead the NAIA. Moving on along, let's go to the North Star, where Waldorf picks up a big win over Mayville State and another school record. Jatoviay Hill, 16 carries, 187 yards rushing. Now, that in of itself is the big news there for Waldorf, because Hill became the all-time leading rusher and the first across 2,000 yards. Now has 2,001 yards rushing on a career. That ties a 56-year-old record, though. Actually, that didn't tie it. The 5 rushing touchdowns, that's what tied the 56-year-old record. Hill, with 5 rushing touchdowns on the day, carries of 1 yard, 2 yards, 16 yards, 55 yards, and 56 yards. Jatoviay Hill with 5 rushing touchdowns on the day, and Waldorf with a 56-34 victory. Congratulations, by the way, to Jatoviay Hill, now the Warriors' all-time leading rusher, which brings us to McPherson. The only quarterback, the only player in our top 5 whose name doesn't start with J. We could, make something up, but we're not going to. Tristan Zabo, his performance for the day for McPherson, they rebound with a big victory over Ottawa. And in that, 60-17, the win over the Braves. Now 3-1 on the season. I'm telling you, that Kessinger division, it's pretty tough. Pretty tough. Tristan Zabo on the day, 11 for 20 passing, 55% completion passing on the day, 265 yards passing, 5 passing touchdowns on the day, no interceptions, had 8 carries for 55 yards, 1 rushing touchdown on the day. Zabo responsible for 6 rushing touchdowns, and he did get by with a little help from his friends. Burns Lewis, 3 catches for 108 yards, 1 of those touchdown catches. Kirby Lewis, both of these guys, Lewis, that are freshmen for the Bulldogs, 55-yard interception return for a touchdown. And Marquise Willoughby with 10 tackles, 2 forced fumbles, 1 interception. Big day on defense, held the Braves to just 17 points. But again, Tristan Zabo continues to lead the Bulldogs, and McPherson having a fantastic season now, 3-1, 5 passing touchdowns, 1 rushing touchdown on the way. And let's see here, Benedictine, we're getting some word here. Benedictine played all 4 quarters, put up 62 points after forgetting to play the first and second quarters last week. Well, they did play all 4 quarters this week, and we haven't forgotten about the Ravens, by the way. They are continuing to roll, and another team, by the way, that I felt pretty strongly about in my vote on the NAIA F-ball poll. So check that out, by the way, on the NAIA F-ball channel. If you've gotten over here and you're watching us live, thanks for watching live tonight as we're starting to wrap things up. I like the Sunday night at 8 o'clock Central Time, 9 o'clock Eastern Time. The only thing about it, I missed the last little part of Josh Pate. So if you like a good Division I program, Josh Pate, Late Kick with Josh Pate live on Sunday nights. Usually that's 8 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Central. But we like our time here. We like our NAIF ball, or our NAIA football here, and our friends over at NAIF ball. We like small college sports. So let me just say really quickly, Jake mentioned that we were at Edmond yesterday. Jolie, one of my daughters, was with me, and she's been my assistant so far this season. And Midwest Sports Saturday was at the Central Oklahoma Missouri Western game in Edmond. UCO hosting Missouri Western. Fantastic game. Came down to the very end. Missouri Western had led throughout. Central Oklahoma comes back, takes the lead late. Missouri Western drives down and picks up a 4th and 10 to keep a drive alive, goes in for the score, and gets a 34-31 victory. We have some shorts from that game on the site. Actually had a chance to visit with Coach Tyler Fenwick after the game as well. So we cover NAIA sports and Division II sports mainly here on Midwest Sportsnet. And we will be on the road again this weekend. And hopefully we'll be able to tell you where we're going to be on our Thursday preview show, because we're leaving Friday on a family trip, and part of the family trip is to get to see a couple of college campuses as well. So that having been said, we haven't dotted all the I's and crossed all the T's as to exactly where we're going to be. So I don't want to say it just yet, but we'll say it on Thursday night. But please keep looking and watching Midwest Sports Saturday. We're enjoying getting back out on the road again. We started getting back out in 2022, and really this season we're going to be in a lot of different places. And our coverage goes beyond just football. It goes into volleyball and basketball and softball and baseball and more. But right now it's football season. So we're enjoying stopping by and seeing football games on Saturdays. And it'll be the last Saturday in September, so we'll let you know on Thursday. Please tune in on Thursday night, and we will preview Week 4 of the NAIA football season for 2023. In the meantime, thanks for watching tonight. For those of you who watch live, thank you very much for stopping by. For anyone who is watching this and you're watching it as it's already on video and you stuck around this long, you are a trooper, and I really appreciate that. So thank you so much for that, and thank you, Dale. Appreciate that. God bless you all. Have a good night. And there should be a little bit more coverage between now and Thursday night. Be looking, I think we may get to talk with someone else that you might enjoy. In the meantime, God bless you. Have a great night. See you later.